Short questions, short answers by Torah Teacher Ariel and the e-Bible. As I mentioned earlier, the questions belong to them and the answers belong to me, and that's the way we play nicely. Here's the question for us tonight. What are the laws referred to in Galatians 2:21 that cannot make us right with God? Let's take a look at that tonight. Let's read Galatians 2:21 real quick again. I do not nullify the grace of God, for if righteousness were through the law, then Christ died for no purpose. That's rendered from the ESV version. What is this righteousness? Understanding Paul's words requires digging into the social and religious background of the Judaisms of his day, as well as allowing for special nuances on words like law and circumcision, to name a few. This verse is no exception. Even though he uses the word law, which is nomos in the Greek, in this verse he doesn't necessarily mean the Torah proper, that is, the 5 books of Moses. So we're going to basically exegete this phrase law tonight. Although it is true, theologically, that keeping the law cannot make one forensically righteous before God. We've got to understand that from the word go. In other words, keeping the law cannot save you. However, Paul would not have to make such a disclaimer, in my opinion, because Judaism has never taught such a concept. I think that's a straw man made by other people. To be sure, Paul's Judaisms were not teaching this either. So, what was Paul's nuanced use of the word law in this verse referring to? Bringing his arguments of the previous verses, and indeed the chapter as we have it, to a close, I say that Paul was again reinforcing the truth that the righteousness of God is attained for an individual at Christ's expense and not through the rubrics of a man-made conversion ceremony, read here as through the law. Now, the law in question is the oral tradition of the first century and popular social belief that only Jewish Israel can inherit blessings in the world to come, i.e., salvation. It's a belief formerly held to by the apostle himself. To be sure, if being declared righteous, which is understood to be primarily forensic but including behavioral as well, if that could be achieved via the flesh, that is, being born Jewish or converting to Judaism, then truly what need would there be for a Messiah to come and provide it later for anyone, right? Paul would have the reader to understand that such righteousness is altogether outside of human achievement and therefore must be procured by surrendering to the power of the Anointed One of God. So, in summary, Paul's not really talking about any law of God in verse 21 per se. What he's arguing against is the first century Jewish misunderstanding that covenant membership into Israel, which was tantamount to salvation, since Jews believed that they were the only ones going to heaven. This salvation was granted only to those with legally identifiable Jewish identity, thus granting such a person access to and responsibility of maintaining obedience to the Torah, a document they believed was given only and exclusively to Jewish Israel. Are you following along with me? As shocking and wrong as we may find it today, the first century Jew basically believed in religious and social superiority in God's eyes based on Jewish identity and access to the Torah. If a Gentile wanted in, he had to convert to become a Jew and take his place among the ranks of other good-standing Torah-keeping Jews. In a word, Jewish identity, quote, saved him, end quote, got him into the covenant, and Torah keeping kept him in. That's kind of the way they felt it worked. So, frequently when Paul uses the word law in Galatians, he often does not simply mean the 5 books of Moses, but rather he means a form of Jewish nationalism and devotion that was based on and grounded in the 5 books of Moses. Check out my podcasts, which are available on iTunes. You can search for me in the store under the search term Ariel HaNaviy. But if you prefer to watch your theology, check out my YouTube channel, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and click the bell for notifications. New content is added weekly or even daily.